I'm so glad that you took time out of your busy schedule today to call in, because the wood colony area is vital to the industry called agriculture in the Central Valley of California, Modesto, Stanislaus County specifically. Tell us a little bit about why Modesto has now drawn wood colony into its general plan and why wood colony does not want to be there.
Well, that's a real good question as to why they've actually expanded it. Beckwith Triangle itself has always been a part of Modesto's general plan grabs. Every time they've tried to add more land into Modesto, they eyeball the Beckwith Triangle and wood colony area. And once there was a lot of pressure from Salida residents to rightly remove Salida from Modesto's general plan, they decided that they needed to make up that acreage elsewhere, and it put a big bullseye on wood colony. So they changed the boundary lines of what was the old Beckwith Triangle and added about 1,500 acres. It might actually be more than that. It's pretty significant acreage that they added to the Beckwith Triangle area in wood colony, and with the premise that it will all be a business park, which, considering there's a lot of empty storefronts and businesses around Modesto, I don't know the standpoint of if you build it, they will come will necessarily work.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I plan on going, when I get home, to go downtown and take pictures of the downtown area and all of the empty storefronts. Last week on the radio show, the featured guest was Bruce Froman, who's former city councilman for Modesto, and we were talking about this, about instead of paving over the farmland, why not either repurpose or infill some of the empty storefronts and empty business parks that we have already? What is the argument that you're hearing from the powers that be, Modesto City or Modesto Chamber of Commerce, people like Craig Lewis? And like I said, I'm going to try to play that entire interview so that the listeners can kind of get a greater grasp on what the plan is for wood colony.
Well, the argument repeatedly of why they're looking at that area is they refer to it as shovel-ready land, meaning that it would take very little effort to build a business park on top of it. But if you look around Modesto, there are a lot of vacant areas. And frankly, when it comes to growth, it is a challenging issue, and we have to practice smart growth, not necessarily the easy growth or the path of least resistance. We have to be smart as we build as a city. And if that means taking blighted areas and investing a little more money in renewing them, Modesto is all the better for it. Otherwise, we're abandoning these blighted areas and growing outward, and essentially all we're doing is creating larger blighted areas as people continue to move away from those areas which don't seem to have the development and don't seem to have the growth. So right now, that's essentially the argument of the Modesto Chamber of Commerce and the proponents of this general plan amendment, is that this is easy ground and shovel-ready ground. The difficult side of that is, as you well know, the wood colony area is filled with a lot of small farmers, family farms, and smaller landowners. And when you look at growth, especially if you're looking at large developments, small landowners causes all sorts of issues. If I remember correctly, that 1,100 acres in Patterson that was just approved for development, I believe it was only 2 landowners over the entire 1,100 acres. For 1,100 acres within the wood colony area, you might be talking about 800 different landowners. It's incredible the amount of people that are there. So you would be displacing a large number of people. So as much as the argument is it's shovel-ready, it presents its own very distinct set of challenges, whereas other parts of town, which are less productive, may require slightly more investment on the part of the developers, but will be a better Modesto for it.
When you say shovel-ready, in my mind, I think ready to build on. Yet in wood colony, it is not, they do not have the infrastructure of city water and sewer and street lights and that sort of thing. So explain to the the listeners, what shovel-ready means and why it's so desirable.
Well, the idea with shovel-ready is there's not already development in the area, so you can make with it what you want. You don't have to tear down existing buildings. You don't have to remove existing infrastructure. You have a blank canvas. And so in that sense, yeah, you don't have the city streets. You don't have the water or sewer or power hookup. Well, power you would have, but you don't have the water or sewer hookups. And so you do have some challenges that would require greater investment on the part of the city. But as far as shovel-ready, they're looking at it as a blank canvas. Unfortunately, I don't see it as blank. It's already a well-developed canvas that has a lot of texture to it and a lot of character to it. And that is something that doesn't need to be developed. And I guess in that sense, my idea of beauty, looking at the canvas, is Wood Colony as it already is, rather than a business park.
Well, I notice on their map, the general plan of Modesto, that is, they have drawn in near the Beckwith Triangle, which is near Highway 99, one of the thoroughfares through the city of Modesto, a regional park. Some may argue that we don't have any parks or enough parks in Modesto or on the west side of the freeway, and that might be a nice addition. However, where I see the big green asterisk for the regional park, it seems like that's where your farm is.
Well, we're a little ways
farm?
off. We're down Beckwith Road, so we're Beckwith and Dakota in that area. So we're not in that area where they want to designate a park. But what you will notice on the map is there is a very, very tiny light green dot at Beckwith and Dakota, and the planners at the city of Modesto have designated that Wood Colony, in that they are going to preserve that as Wood Colony. And so when you hear Craig Lewis in his talk say that we should absolutely take efforts to preserve Wood Colony, I think the question becomes, what is your definition of the Wood Colony area? As the city of Modesto sees it on Beckwith Road, they have approximately 20 small ranchettes that they have designated as Wood Colony. The total acreage of that area might amount to 50 acres. That's an approximation, but I'll bet it's pretty close, knowing I'm very familiar with the area that they have designated. The original Wood Colony area was slightly over 7,000 acres. That is historic Wood Colony. It stretches from Highway 99 on the east to Murphy and Bacon Road on the north, Hart Road on the west, and to Woodland on the south. And so the actual footprint of Wood Colony is quite large. And so when you see City of Modesto planners trying to take efforts to, as they say, protect Wood Colony, it sounds good in theory, and it's a good way to try and convince people that you actually care, while at the same time just devastating and destroying the area. And even those people, if they do preserve those few houses along Beckwith Road, my guess is they wouldn't want to be there for very long, as all you're doing is increasing the traffic that's going to go by in front of their house daily to and from the business park. And what you will in fact create is another blighted area, as those people will eventually get fed up with being so close to the business park and move out, and you will not have people that will want to move back into that location, which will cause a blighted area. So as much as City of Modesto is trying to say they care about Wood Colony and they're setting aside a designated area, they're actually condemning it.
Hart-Ransom School is right on Dakota Road, which is not quite halfway, but almost halfway between the north and the south boundaries of, and east to west too, of Wood Colony's area. What's going to happen to that K-8 school, plus their charter school and all the outbuildings and the new improvements that they've made and the beautiful field that they have built for the children to play on, the baseball diamond? What's going to happen to that? Is there going to be, if Modesto has their way in this general plan, are they putting a thoroughfare right smack dab in front of an elementary school?
Yeah, they already have bought the right-of-ways for Dakota Avenue to widen Dakota, and so they would widen it. My guess is the school would remain. They might have to change their layout of things just a little bit, but the school would become part of Modesto City Schools. It would become part of the city school district. And that's where it'd be a little bit of a shame.
I don't know if they're going to like that at all.
Right. That is a really big concern when it comes to Hart-Ransom.
Yes.
And
yes,
as you well know, Hart-Ransom is a jewel of the county, absolute jewel of the county.
Yeah, and they are their own independent union school district. Hart-Ransom is the only school in that school district. I don't think that that's going to go over very well. Have you talked to anybody at the Hart-Ransom school or the administrators or the superintendent there to get their idea or their feel of what's going on with this general plan?
I had a conversation earlier today with Jim Cover, who's on the school board there, and he did say that the superintendent is up to speed on what's going on, and they are sending out letters to the parents of students at the school to let them know what the city is planning and the potential effects that it could have on the school, with the hope of getting people to turn out to the next city council meeting, which I believe is January 7th. And so they are aware of what's happening, and as you said, we're not happy necessarily about the situation.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've lived out there 1 mile or less than 1 mile from Hart-Ransom School for 26 years, and that school was one of the reasons why I bought a home in Wood Colony, because of the feel of it, the people, the rural area. My opinion is, if people want the city, you move to the city. If you want to live in the rural areas, you move to the rural areas. What is the city doing moving out to the rural areas when they have plenty of city in the city? But that's just my opinion.
That's $1 million question. That's $1 million question. I wish we knew the answer to it. It certainly looks to be a land grab in the sense of adding taxable land into the city of Modesto, because as we know, the city of Modesto isn't necessarily as financially sound as they would like to be. And so any way you can expand your tax base, it'd be a benefit for the city. But in theory, when in essence what it would do is create more problems for the city. It would destroy a terrific sustainable area. We have high water recharge, and when we talk about parts of the state with the groundwater problems that are around the state of California, and you look at Modesto has a water table that is high, that has actually grown over the last 20 years. Big reason for that is the flood irrigation that takes place around our county, and especially in the Wood Colony area. People want to point to the counties, to the soils in the north part of the county and the Kernan Road area as a high water recharge, whereas we have the exact same soils that they have on the Kernan Avenue area in the Wood Colony area. So we have a high water recharge area that's very beneficial to Modesto. We have a school system that's phenomenal, and as a third-generation Hart-Ransom school graduate attendee, I can tell you that it is a phenomenal school, and it would truly be a shame to see the city of Modesto follow through with this general plan.
You are currently one of the board of directors on the Modesto Irrigation District, and congratulations officially for winning that seat. And I thank you for running a great campaign and running, because it was a heated district where you ran in, and you are a farm and water preservation advocate. So I appreciate you calling in and talking to us today. Any closing remarks? I know you're going to be there on January 7th at the City Council meeting, 1010 10th Street, downtown Modesto. You've also been kind of like a liaison between some of the powers that be in the city to the Wood Colony area by physically showing them what our resources are out there. What else are you doing? You're talking to Hart-Ransom School. Are you campaigning, again, door to door and talking to people, or are you using more of the alternate media and the Modesto Bee to get the word out about this?
At this point, we're really sticking with Modesto Bee and social media. We are organizing some small community gatherings to really get the word out. We haven't started a door-to-door campaign at this time. But if we do feel greater pressure, if we see this progressing at the city council, then we will for sure ramp that up. And in closing, I would just like to encourage people, these elected officials are just that. They're elected, and they have to represent the views of the people. And if you are have a voice on this matter and choose to weigh in, we need to contact our city council members and let them know. That is one of the unfortunate things with looking at the Wood Colony area and the general plan is we're not currently in the city of Modesto, so we don't have a say-so. We don't have a vote as to who's on that city council, yet they can make a decision that changes all of our livelihoods. So we need to show up to the city council meetings. We need to write letters to the editor in the Modesto Bee. We need to get involved and let our leadership in the city of Modesto know that if we're going to grow Modesto, we need to practice smart growth. It's not always the low-hanging fruit. It's not always the thing that looks the easiest. We have to make the right decision that's not just right for right now, but it's right for 20, 30, and 50 years from now.
That's right. We have to have the vision to see what will be there for our children and our grandchildren, because even though some of these decisions being made now may not take effect for 10 or 20 years, we do want to make sure that our children are not saddled with poor decisions that our peers or our generation has made.
I couldn't agree more.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and tell people where they can contact you, either on the social media or by email.
I have a Facebook page. It's just to search Jake Wenger. You can find me at Twitter at NutFarmerJake, and my email is jake@woodcolony.com. So if anyone has any questions or concerns, feel free to contact me. I love visiting with anybody and everybody. As you know very well, it's very easy to get me to share my opinion. The difficult part might be getting me to stop talking. So I would love to visit with anybody.
Okay. Thanks, Jake. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Athens, and thank you for tackling this very serious and important issue.